Making a reliable online income often feels like just throwing random ideas at a wall and hoping something sticks. Well, in this explainer, we're unpacking a highly viral, structured framework designed to ethically hit that sweet spot of $100 a day. But we aren't just looking at random gigs here. We're going to categorize 7 distinct side hustles by the exact skills and personality traits they require. It's all about finding the absolute perfect engine for your specific temperament. So, the entire goal of this framework is hitting one very specific, tangible number, $100 a day. But there's a massive caveat here. The original creator insists this has to be achieved using only what they define as halal, or completely ethical methods. In practical terms, that means absolutely no promoting shady financial schemes and no peddling fake guru courses. Zero. It is strictly about providing genuine, tangible value. So, how do we actually pull this off ethically in 2026? Well, we're going to break these 7 paths down into 4 distinct engines: modern tools, high-energy sales, creative systems, and digital brokering.
Let's dive right into Section 1, AI writing and web design.
This first bucket is all about high-volume, low-barrier entry points where artificial intelligence is basically doing the heavy lifting for you. It allows you to punch way above your weight class even if you don't have years of tech experience. Take the AI copywriting model, for instance. By using a tool like Claude AI and training it with super specific prompts, like literally telling it to write conversational English below a 4th grade reading level, you can generate a sequence of 5 to 10 marketing emails for a client incredibly fast. You can charge a highly competitive rate, say $100 for the package. And because the AI does the grunt work, it might only take you 2 hours. Ultimately, you've essentially just built a side hustle paying you $50 an hour.
And that leads us perfectly into the second path, which is web design arbitrage. Get this. You don't even need to know how to code to do this. The strategy is to audit really poorly designed websites in a specific industry, reach out to them, and sell a redesign for a totally accessible price, like roughly $300 to $400. Once you lock in that deal, you either use AI website builders to knock it out fast, or you outsource the actual labor to a freelancer on Upwork for $50 to $100. You're basically acting as the project manager, keeping your costs super low and selling to businesses who just simply don't have the time to do it themselves.
Moving on to Section 2, high-ticket sales and setting.
Now, let's see how this builds for the more extroverted, high-energy folks out there. This next path is anchored in a pretty ruthless but highly rewarding concept: earn what you kill. This is high-ticket sales. You're taking phone calls to sell premium products or services priced anywhere between $1,500 and $10,000. And your pay? It's strictly commission, typically around 10%. Meaning, if you close a $5,000 deal, boom, you just made $500 in a single hour. But keep in mind, it definitely requires flawless English, intense charisma, and an incredibly thick skin to handle the constant phone rejections.
But what if you aren't naturally charismatic, or you just absolutely hate talking on the phone? Well, DM setting or appointment setting is the perfect alternative. Instead of closing the deal on a call, your job is simply to text people in the direct messages, qualify those leads, and book the calendar appointments for the closer. The barrier to entry is just so much lower. Now, because you're essentially setting up the spike rather than hitting it, you do take a smaller cut, usually a 5% commission, but you get to do the whole thing entirely via text. Just to put into perspective how viable this behind-the-scenes role actually is, the framework's creator revealed that their own top appointment setter made exactly $6,000 in pure cash in a single month. It just goes to show that even playing the assist role in the sales ecosystem can be massively lucrative if you're organized and persistent.
All right, Section 3, video editing and automations. Now, if you're more of a calm operator who'd rather stare at timeline than talk to a customer, these creative output systems are definitely for you. Look, there's a huge misconception out there that video editing is way too saturated, but the data actually suggests it's only saturated if you're just copying that same hyper-animated, flashy style everyone else is doing right now. Instead, the real strategy here is to target highly specific niches. You could edit cinematic vlogs for $200 to $500 a pop. You could do educational documentaries, which, by the way, aligns perfectly with the ethical framework because they don't even require music. Or you can specialize in YouTube Shorts by getting access to a client's YouTube studio and editing strictly based on what causes retention spikes in their analytics. That right there is a highly specialized, insanely in-demand skill. Right alongside creative editing is a highly logical tech skill: building automations. Big companies literally waste thousands of hours every year on repetitive manual tasks. But by learning platforms like Zapier or Make.com, you can build systems where an email automatically triggers a Slack message, which then automatically updates a Google Sheet. It's like building digital plumbing.
You can start by charging $50 for a super simple automation job, and as you build more complex pipelines for these companies, your rates can scale drastically. Which brings us to Section 4, Influencer Marketing Brokering. For our final category, we're looking at the role of the connector, which actually generated the most wealth for the framework's creator back when they were just a beginner. Now, the absolute crucial point here is adhering to those strict ethical parameters we laid out earlier. To be a broker within these bounds, you have to carefully audit the influencers you partner with. You must avoid anyone who features music, exposed skin, or fitness content, or any promotions for shady finances and crypto. You are specifically hunting for clean, educational, or family-friendly influencers. Once you do find an influencer who fits those parameters, ideally sitting in that 200 to 500,000 follower sweet spot, you execute these very specific steps. You take their engagement metrics and you pitch them to relevant brands. But listen, step 3 is the absolute linchpin of this entire business model. You absolutely must sign separate dual contracts using software like DocuSign. That means one contract between you and the brand and a totally separate one between you and the influencer. Why? So the brand and the influencer never actually communicate directly and cut you out of your commission. You have to be the sole bridge between them. As the broker, you're negotiating a 15 to 20% cut. And while that might sound like a pretty small slice of the pie, let's look at some real-world data from a student who used this exact system. This student secured a $12,000 brand deal for an influencer, and because they held the dual contracts, they walked away with nearly $3,000 in pure profit, literally just for making the digital introduction and managing the paperwork. That is a total game changer.
Finally, Section 5, Choosing Your Path.
We've covered a ton of ground today, breaking these 7 distinct hustles down into logical buckets. And the true beauty of this whole breakdown is that hitting your target isn't about trying to do all 7 things at once. It's about matching your own natural disposition to just one of these proven frameworks. If you love building systems in quiet, go with Zapier or web design. If you've got endless energy and a thick skin, high-ticket sales is your arena for sure. The trick is to align the vehicle to your innate personality.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Based on all the math we've looked at today, the strict ethical boundaries outlined, and an honest assessment of your very own personality, which of these digital skills will you commit to mastering first? The blueprint is laid out right in front of you. The execution is entirely up to you.